Yeah, another dark log from the diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. Evening, guys. It's coming up on Saturday night morning here. It's 11:37 at night. Still the 8th of May, 2026, Friday. This may or may not be relating to major politics that are happening these days, but things have been happening in the state of California. So those in the state of California, you're probably running into the same issues regarding antiquated systems still needed to be upgraded. I refer to the 911 emergency system. Now, how many of you in the past that lived in California, or still living, had used the 911? Raise your hands. So you know how important the system is. We had that thing implemented, what, 1970s, 1980s, somewhere in that time? And normally we would be calling operator dispatches for the fire department or LAPD or sheriffs or whatever kind of county you're in. And they would send out people. Usually hit the operator button. But then, when we had developed a 911, I'm going to maneuver this damn phone again. Here we go. It's going to be weird. I'm going to be turning off the CPAP machine for a bit. And then I got to check out the trays, and not to mention the road just walking around. Turning off the power cord. Still got power on my phone. So I'm just going to keep it upright. Okay, so now if any one of you had ever been old enough as I am, like 60s, 70s, if you guys were able to find the original episodes of Emergency, NBC4, Universal program, about 3 or 4 season worth of fictional paramedic stories of LA County saving lives. And that was the thing. You called night operator, you switch you over, and you talk to the fire department, you talk to the police department, sheriff's department, something like that, and you get services, right? And emergency, it's always dealing with the 911 operator or emergency dispatch. They get the call, they contact the nearest station or do a statewide alert, and the fire department would come out. Hopefully within 30 minutes or less. And when the 911 system came up, they were trying to develop ways of getting more and more accurate information and faster response times. And they needed the manpower for it. Well, we actually had budgets to supply them. We had personnel up and down the coastline for it. Not exactly the glamorous, easiest damn job to deal with. We've all been watching for the past decade or more these various shows concerning about 911 operators. And what the stories, fictional and non-fictional, that they would go through. More than just a decade or two. There would have been rumors, online stories within the past 20 or 30 years since we've had social media, of whether or not the 911 operators were doing their job or not. Or if they were mechanical, or were they actually carrying human beings. And there had been stories floating around in newspapers whether or not if they were doing their jobs or not. And if the systems were adequate enough to get help faster. Now, being a recipient of 911, not on a constant basis, but when I needed it, I called, they were there. In the past 20 or 30 years, maybe more than that. It's not like you drop a dime into a phone machine and just dial it. You get the cell phone, so you dial 911, and signals would bounce instantly, speed of light, to operating centers, and whoever was available would take your call if there was enough people. But because of budget constraints we've been having in the state of California, There may not have been implementation enough to get personnel in the chairs to use systems, antiquated or not, to at least answer the damn phones. From one county that was posting a story on social media that I just saw, and it was within the past few weeks. San Diego County was having issues getting butts in the chair in order to get emergency services there fast enough. And from what they were investigating, 2 or 3 year gap showed nearly no change in the efficiency, and it was sucked. Let's just say, I'm not quoting numbers, but it sucked. And not enough personnel in the chairs to fill them. And so budgets were allocated or reallocated into other services when they could have been kept with the emergency. So now they're still suffering through it. It may take you about a few minutes, or you may put it on hold waiting for 911. I don't know how long it's going to be in San Diego. LA County was having the same issues as well. There was supposed to have been an updated 911 system, putting in new advanced technology. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, was trying to update. I'm saying was trying. I don't know if he was still doing it or not. Getting more equipment, more personnel. Really fell through the cracks. Efficiency wasn't there. Humanity was not there. As in butts in the chair. So, they're still rethinking, retooling. Meanwhile, we've got different dispatch operating centers out there who are trying to determine whether or not what's going to be considered an emergency and what's not, and what's law enforcement and what's medical. These days, out here in Kern County, California, where I'm living in, I call dispatch. Dispatch is either county sheriff or highway patrol. One of the two would get it. I needed 911 services for myself. Not for somebody screaming and yelling, but for medical. So I would call them. And they transferred me over to the fire department. And then I had to tell the fire department what was going on. The fire department had contacted the local station out here, which is about 2 or 3 miles away. But the nearest ambulance that they would have is about 1,000 yards away from me. Just about. Hall ambulance. Normally in the Bay, there would be one ambulance ready to rock and roll while the others are dispatched. Probably waiting or probably taking calls, but there's usually one left in reserve. One of them actually did come, and I was taken. I was taken to the hospital. Fortunately for me, it was non-emergency, non-life-threatening. As soon as they got me in the hospital and put into the system there, they took off. I was waiting on gurneys for stuff. But when it came down 4 years earlier, about almost a decade earlier, well, my big brother was alive and I was trying to take care of him. They were there. After about 2 or 3 minutes, gave me enough time to clear out a space for the gurney to get through. And they came in, and this is well before the bug war happened, guys. Well before the roach infestation of mine. Anyway, calm, cool, professional for a Hall ambulance. We've had them over here since I've been living in this apartment complex for about nearly a decade. We've had several times that we've had the fire department coming out. But the Hall ambulance would be here first. But if it was a fire situation, it would take them about 5-10 minutes to get over here. Because of the distance that we have at the edge of town to where their fire station is, and we've got one with 4 or 5 engines with crews for them. But the ambulances that they would deal with is the private company of Hall. And again, if we're lucky enough, they would have at least one ambulance in the bay, maybe 2. They're supposed to hold 4. So maybe on a slow day, if there was one out here in Roseman, we would have all 4 ready to rock and roll. And there'll be shifts happening. I was grateful enough, even for a non-emergency situation, to have ambulance coming over. But I was also fortunate enough that the 911 call went through. Out here in the rural areas that we live out here in the desert regions for Antelope Valley / Kern County, we depend upon our rural providers, the ambulance companies that we contract with, not to mention the county equipment and personnel, which be law enforcement and or fire department. Bigger counties, the bigger cities, would have multiple stations for their ambulances and their rescue equipment. We're just out here in about a 20 to 30,000 community spread out. We have 1 fire station, 1 ambulance bay, and a dispatch center that's handling our rural network. I'm grateful enough that we still have the personnel for right now. But it would rattle my cage if we had issues with the 911 system, such as equipment outage. And there had been reports of equipment outage in different counties at one time. I hadn't heard or hadn't read any comments in the social media regarding Kern being in that kind of a situation where they couldn't use the 911. Locally, I don't even have the station number or the local sheriff's department number. I could try doing an email for it. But I'm trying to be grateful for the established system that we have right now. We're supposed to be getting new technology within the next several years. The technology that they would have out there that they tell us and demonstrated even in fictional television shows, that there would be a visual, such as if I do a 911, I would have an operator looking at me and I'd be looking at the operator, such as the way I'm looking at you in the television screen. So I know I'm looking ahead at this point over here, not staring at the damn screen. But the operator would have the computer screen right in front of their face, not to mention a little tiny camera watching them. And the programming in their system allowing the two-way communication. This way they'd be able to see what's going on, make a determination. All they have to do right now is dependent upon vocal communication. But what if you can't do vocal and only do like something like that? Hands in the air, screaming and yelling your head off, or waving your hands off, trying to get the operator's attention, saying, "Help!" Yeah. Sound like I'm going to be going on there to the 911 operator, and if I'm doing a video here, I'll be saying, or grabbing the phone violently at this point over here, and saying, "Help! There's blood dogs in the house! Help! They're not going to respond to that one. They'll put me on some other extension number that I have to dial for help with the county on that one. But if I truly needed emergency services, such as if there was shots fired outside, and maybe somebody's coming around here with a gun or something like that. Case in point, several years ago, there was, I don't know, junkie or something like that. Someone with them high on something, but paranoid and agitated, and going around knocking on people's doors, trying to get people's attention. And unfortunately, she landed on mine. I don't know why. Maybe she was referred over here, and I'd never seen her before. And after that night, I'd never seen her after that. But I had to use 911 to get the sheriff's department over here. And where they were at, they did have a substation about 3 miles away. It took them long enough to get over here, but at night, they don't have that many personnel. During the daytime, they've had maybe about 6 or 8 in the station if they're lucky enough. And maybe a couple out there for patrols. And at nighttime, it's just one patrol and maybe one dispatcher if you're lucky enough. And that was several years ago. Long story on this one. Somewhere in my old videos, I've got the story about this one. But the response time was slow because it was at night and not enough people. And that was just strictly for law enforcement. The 911 operator was there. A lot faster than the response time. Still, the officers got her, took her to the station, and I never saw her again. Never even seen the damn report afterwards. What the hell happened to her? I wonder if she was okay after whatever she was going through. She was saying some awfully weird things and making a mess in my damn bathroom. It took me all night to get that thing cleaned up. I don't know if I got any sleep after that. So I have to keep checking the door every so often to see if anybody's out there ready to ambush my ass. But for right now, before the system crashes and burns, I still have a 911 system ready to go. All I have to do is pull up the phone menu, type in a 911, and we're running, boys and girls. And I thought I'd give you this kind of information anyway. Once I find some more links, I'm going to put them into the community page or into the comment sections at this point for you guys to take a look at for your own self. That being said, let me see if I can get any sleep.